Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, guys. This is Jeff with Fluent American, and we are back once more to target your pronunciation. You'll see at the top of the chat box, I have included a link where you can go to send in your own pronunciation files. We'll be taking a look at the files that you send and giving some feedback on how the American English pronunciation could be adjusted to sound more natural. And again, do keep in mind that this is just one person's perspective pronunciation. There's all different variations and things like that, so you're just giving some quick feedback. Take it with a grain of salt, but I do think it will be helpful to get you sounding at least a little more natural in American English. Hello to Emmanuel checking in. I know he sent some files and things like that. And again, if you're trying to get your own files sent, this is where you want to go, to this place here. We're going to be looking at two sentences again. First one is this one. I couldn't have done this without your help. And our second one, call me back whenever you get the chance. So hopefully some sentences that you will find helpful in your daily life and things like that. So we're going to look at these sentences, taking a look at pronunciation of vowel sounds. Let's take a look at some linking and stress and reductions and all that fun stuff. And of course, as we go through these things, if you have some questions, if you're not sure what we're talking about, or if you have questions about the sentence that you see and you want ways to make it sound more natural for yourself, you can always let me know in the chat box, as we'll be checking that out throughout the stream as well. Okay. Let's Prop Chat is back. That's great. Good to see you again. Let's take a look at our first sentence. So our first one, I couldn't have done this without your help. 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 So if I were saying the sentence, and again, it's always hard because we have no context, right? But if I were saying this sentence, I would particularly be putting stress on couldn't. I couldn't have done this. Couldn't have done this. And then without your help. I would probably put the second stress on help. I couldn't have done this without your help. Couldn't have done this without your help. Let's talk about some of the key vowel sounds that you'll need to get this sounding most natural. Firstly, the couldn't sound, that couldn't. Notice that my mouth is open enough to let through some air. Uh. The back of my tongue is high and the front of my tongue is down. And as always, I'm trying to get as much air through my throat as possible. Okay, you don't want to be blocking off air. So it's not it's more uh. And in general, again, in American English, you're really projecting sounds from a lower spot in your throat. So this kind of something to be paying attention to. Yes, as mentioned here, this sound, not every language has an sound, which I'll put it this way. At first, when you're studying pronunciation, if it's a completely new sound for you, that can make it an extra big challenge. One thing I will say, though, is that as you get more used to the sound and making it, it may actually end up becoming a little easier to pronounce than another similar vowel sound, the oo sound. So a lot of people confuse and oo. So like instead of saying couldn't, they may say like couldn't and things like that. So kind of just something to be paying attention to. It's like couldn't. Hello to Rameza checking in. That's great. Good to see you. Good to see you. Some other key things with couldn't as well. So couldn't, also notice that my lips are a little bit straighter, right? I don't need round lips for this. I can keep them relatively straight, like k. In fact, what I tell students is if you're finding this to be a particularly difficult sound to say, one strategy that you can use is to smile a little bit, because that's going to make your lips a little tenser and it's going to pull them. So that way you're resisting the urge to make them round. So that way you go like k as opposed to ku. So it's not couldn't, it's couldn't. And we'll also talk about some reductions that are going on with that as well in a moment. Done, watch out for the schwa sound. So it's not don, it's done. Hear the difference there? Don, done, don, done. So again, you want that second one with done. So schwa, again, everything super relaxed, not really tensing anything in my lip area, my mouth, my jaw, my tongue. Just that natural sound when you have a neutral expression. Just duh, done, duh, done. Okay. Let's just note about that for done. Also make sure that you're not adding a vowel sound before the N. Duh, done. After that, Without, a couple key things without. Short I sound, so it's not with, it's with. And also notice that that th on without is also voiceless. I have a lot of students, they want to do like without, kind of making that voiced. And the reality is that typically it's going to be a voiceless sound, so like without. Okay. Um, and your help, also help. It's not help, it's help. Making sure at the back of your tongue, the front of your tongue, and the middle of your tongue are all kind of raised a bit. So you're blocking air in your mouth. Your mouth is, your lips are mostly closed, but do make sure your throat is open. It's like l, help. I would definitely study that progression if you find this to be a tricky word to say. It's like l, help, l, help, l, help. This is also a case of a dark L situation, so you don't need to make contact with the top of your mouth for this. You can actually keep the front of your tongue down, hold it against the bottom of your mouth, raise that back, and make sure that back of your tongue is high enough. L, help, L, help. So studying that progression. Questions related to stress. Let's take a look at question here. So I stress done and help. Is it wrong? Not necessarily. I mean, I stress done. Couldn't have done this without your help. Couldn't have done this without your help. Couldn't have done this. Couldn't have done this. I think it certainly can work. What I would say is that it's not necessary to stress those, and I think that it might be less common. I do think couldn't would be the more likely stress. I could. So you're stressing done. I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this without your help. Couldn't have done this without your. I feel like you're going to be more likely to get on good. What I would say is I would go to like a site like Youglish. I would type in like I couldn't have done this, or I couldn't, or like couldn't have done, and see what the results are in terms of the stress patterns. My guess is that you're more likely to hear the stress on could than done. So again, not necessarily wrong, but maybe a little bit less common. I've done this without your help, and I think stressing help would be okay. Everybody's checking in today. Okay, and Ron is checking in as well. Great to see you. Thanks for stopping by as always. Other key things here for our first sentence. Let's talk about some reductions and things. This sentence is going to have a decent amount. So we're going to see, we already see the contraction, right? So couldn't. So instead of could not have, yeah, you're not going to hear people say it that way very often. You're not going to hear could not have. It's usually going to be couldn't have, couldn't have. Couldn't is going to be much more common than could not. Also notice that a lot of times when you have couldn't paired with a have, so it becomes like couldn't have, couldn't have. In fact, we have a video that talks about negative contractions, which I strongly recommend. Like if you go to my search bar in my channel and type in like negative contractions, you'll find that like couldn't have, couldn't have. That's going to be your probably one of your more common ways to say that. Another option too would be couldn't have, couldn't have. So again, couldn't have or couldn't have. It's like couldn't have done this or couldn't have done this. Those are going to be your most common ways of saying couldn't have done this without your help. How about that without your, without your? So again, we have this T sound without ending on the T. Then we have your starting with that Y sound. And we talked about this before, but when you have a T that's followed by a strong like Y sound, like Y, it's typically going to become like a CH, like ch, ch, without your help, without your help, without your help. Do you hear that? So instead of without your help, more without your help. Couldn't have done this without your help. Couldn't have done this without your help. Couldn't have done this without your help. All right. So those would be my ways of saying that first sentence. We'll hear how you do it in a minute. Hey, my mom's here. Guys, be nice to my mom. She's checking in. Hi, Mom. Good to see you. Hope we can help you with your pronunciation, if that's necessary. My mom occasionally has a Scranton accent, but besides that, Scranton is a very small town in Pennsylvania, the state in the U.S. where I'm from. Other things going on. So that's for the first sentence. Let's take a look at our second sentence here. So call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. I would say on this sentence, you most likely your stresses are going to be back. Call me back. And then whenever you get the chance, chance would be your second stress. Those would be the most common stresses, I would say. Call me back whenever you call me back whenever you get the chance. Those would be my biggest recommendations there. Okay. As we're going through this, we have another question. How to get more air through the throat when producing sounds? Any tips or exercises? Yeah. This is a big question. So before we look at our second sentence in more details, kind of pick at this a bit. Oh, my mom's talking to my brother. If you guys watch my video, we're talking about twins, where I tested his pronunciation. That's who she's talking to. 'Cause it's just the two of us. So that's it's nice. Tell Greg I say hi. Appreciate that. But going back to getting air through the throat. So a couple things I would recommend. Firstly, let's pick a sound. I like to use the schwa sound as a model because the schwa sound it's already like you're not doing anything, right? You're not doing anything in your throat, you're not doing anything in your mouth or your jaw or your lips. It's just that sound, just just kind of that neutral expression. So what I would recommend for that is I would say, and this will also relate to placement as well. So don't you worry. Thanks for checking in on the stream. So the first thing, doing that sound, start with it high and then send it down. So let's just practice placement a little bit with that. It's like So notice again, I'm sending that sound lower into my throat. Okay. And you can play around with it too. Like, you can send it down and send it back up. You can do like so just kind of like exercises like that, just to kind of feel the differences between when it's high versus when it's low. So that's the first thing I would recommend. Um, I would also say, play around with making your throat extra tense, and then play around with your throat, also relaxing it more. So, like for instance, let's lower it and do tense the entire time. It's like, now let's try to relax it more. It's like, can you hear a difference between and Okay, so just kind of doing exercises like that. Some other things that can be helpful. I was working with a student earlier this week on the oo sound, okay, which tends to be a pretty challenging sound. Most languages have an oo sound, but the big difference is in American English, it's much more open. Okay, and what I would say is that for that oo, um, we experimented. So one way you can experiment is open your mouth extra wide. Now, be aware, this is not the standard mouth position, and it's not going to be exactly the right sound. However, it can help you get used to what it feels like when you get more air going through. So, like, instead of saying like "ooh, ooh," let's notice how open my mouth is there. "Ooh, ooh." Let's open extra wide. It's like "oh, oh, oh, oh." Okay, so that's again when you're making that sound, you don't normally have to have it. So what? But what you're doing when that happens is you are kind of opening things up just a little bit. Okay. And so you can kind of compare. It's like, oh, 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 oh. In general, you want to feel in this throat area, you want to feel about as open in both positions. So I would say kind of playing around with that a little bit. Do lots of experimentations. Don't be afraid to make strange noises. Don't be afraid to do unusual positions and things like that. Really try to do things that are different than how you're normally going about it. The more you exaggerate, um, I think the better results you're going to find. What I see with students all the time, and I think lots of teachers would agree, is that when it comes to pronunciation, people are making differences that are like this big, when they're trying out new sounds. But the reality is you need changes that are maybe like this big, or maybe even like like this big. You need larger changes there. So being willing to experiment, do things that you tell yourself like, oh, that can't be right. There's no way that's the right way to do it. Well, we'll try and see. Record yourself, and things like that. Manual notes that they get lower in pitch when they practice this. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty again, it's not necessary to speak in American English with a lower pitch, but it's certainly something that can be helpful. A lot of people find that when they speak in American English, they have a lower pitch than they do in their first language. A lot of people experience that. Okay. Some notes here. Little chin down helps get placement down. It's feeling imaginary. Placement sound low. Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of goes back to what we were talking about too. When for that ooh sound again, when you're opening your mouth extra wide, like just opening the mouth can help with that as well. Yeah. And I think it's very common for people to find that in American English they have a lower pitch. That's a pretty common experience. Okay. And again, this is not just for men, this is for women as well. Okay. Um, I'm going to go back to our second sentence now and analyzing, just giving you some tips about how to pronounce this. If you do have some more questions, though, about anything, be sure to post them in the chat box. So call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. You can play around with it in terms of what's heavier, the back or the chance, but those would be the most common um, situations there, I would say, for that. Um, let's talk a little bit about some vowel sounds here. So caw, again, caw is a dark L. So when you're saying caw, don't feel the need to make contact with your tongue in the top of your mouth. It's not call, it's caw, caw. I'm not sure if you can see it, but my tongue is touching against the bottom of my mouth the entire time. Caw, caw. Okay, so it's down the entire time. It's kind of something to keep in mind. Um, call me back. Call me back. Notice that me as well. It's reduced, right? It's not super strong. Call me back. Call me back. But make sure that it maintains the long I sound. I see some students that want to do like call me back, call me back. But it's more call me back. The long I sound usually doesn't get reduced. So you want to keep that. Call me back. Whenever you get the chance. Whenever you get the chance. Look at how many reductions appear there. It's like whenever you get the nothing you need to hold, there's nothing there you need to hold or emphasize, really. Like whenever you get the so I would really just kind of practice saying that combination whenever you get the and if it doesn't make sense on its own, that's okay. Context is important when you use it in an actual sentence, like here, like call me back whenever you get the chance. Now people understand. You'd be like, oh, that makes sense. You said whenever you get the chance. Whereas if you just say whenever you get the, like native, if you said whenever you get the to a native speaker, they'd be like, what did you just say? What? But if you said call me back whenever you get the chance, people would be like, oh, I know what you said. Easy. Yeah. So do keep that in mind with reductions. They are dependent on the surrounding words. Denny is in the house. Hello to Denny. Thanks for checking in, man. Saw Denny a little bit earlier today. Online, not in person. I cannot fly to Italy right now. Whenever you get the chance. Other thing, oh, Denny, this will be good for you. So chance. So this I was talking to Denny about this a little earlier. So for chance, we have this ah sound. Then we have this nasal. Okay, so it's this ah sound like in cat. Ah, when you're making that ah, notice how wide my mouth is. Ah, and I'm also pulling on the corners of my lips. So I'm like pulling that back, so it's a little bit tense through here. Ah, ah, and then so also make sure that the back of your tongue is down and the front of your tongue is down and the middle of your tongue is raised, and that's how you're getting that like a ah. But when you have this N sound, it's going to change things to a great degree. So for instance, instead of just doing ah, you're going to get more of like an sound. So for instance, my mom's name is Anne. Anne. Okay, so just try to practice saying that, like Anne. So you get this ass sound like in cat, but it doesn't sound exactly like cat, right? Cat, Anne, cat, Anne. What's the difference? Well, you're gonna notice that my jaw is gonna close a little bit. Cat, Anne, cat, Anne. So it's a little bit more closed for that ass sound. Some people may say, like I was talking to Denny about this, you may feel your placement rise a bit. So when you're doing that and when it links with a nasal sound, like that N, and so you may feel that your placement's slightly higher. You may feel that your tongue slides back more. And also you want to do a heavy breath out of your nose. It's like and. So I'm doing that ah. So instead of ah, it's more a little bit more closed, slightly higher placement, tongue curling back a little bit more. And then as soon as that sound finishes right before the N, I'm letting out a heavy breath out of my nose. It's like and. Okay, so again, ah, and, chan, chance. I would do progressions like that. So you do it like 3 times. We'll do it. I'll give you an example. It's like and, chan, chance, and, chan, chance, and chan, chance. Doing that sort of progression can be really helpful because it can help you identify what part of the word isn't quite being pronounced right. Okay. So that's a key part of chance, chance. You want to make sure you're not saying chance like chance. It's chance in American English, standard American English pronunciation. And this happens again when you have that a sound plus an n or an m or an ng. So that can definitely be a tricky word that we'll be paying attention to. I know I missed a couple of questions. So let's see. Call, dark L or light L. There's if you use a light L, that's not necessarily wrong, but I think that you're going to be more likely to pronounce it with a dark L. Usually, when you have an L sound at the end of a word, and oftentimes also in the middle of a word, it becomes a dark L. So, like, call me, call me. I wouldn't say call me. I would say call me, call me. I would keep that front of your tongue down. So, I would keep it as a dark L. Same thing with the word all. Again, when you have a word that ends in an L, I would keep it there. Yes, just a note on that. Other things here. Do you drop the question? Drop the T and get. See, link with the TH sound in. So let's look at the sentence again. Get the chance. Get the chance. Get the. I wouldn't just say like I'm not saying get the. It's more get the. I would say instead of like just dropping the T, it's not silent T. It's more of a held T. So you're holding it, or like a stop T. You're holding it, and then releasing on the. It's like get the. You're not saying get the. That's really hard to say, right? Get the. No, but it's get the. So those will link a little bit. I would use a held T, then release the breath on the TH on the. Okay, so that would be my recommendation for get the. Okay. Hello to S Prac. Thanks for checking in. Great to see you. Oh, I missed the question. Sorry. Not going in order. My apologies. Denny asks, how tense are the corners of your lips when you transition from a to an? An. Well, I would compare this to, for instance, the ah. Let's compare it like an versus on. An, on. I'm not sure if you can see it. Pay attention to my lips. It's like an, on. And on. Notice how much of a difference there is, right? So for and, my lips are way straighter. So I would say that it is tense. Considering a lot of American English vowel sounds, I would say, yeah, it is relatively tense there. Yes, I would say that you should expect a slightly tenser sound. When you say and, and I would say that comparing like to an, I do think that my lips do relax a little bit. Okay, so you're kind of like in this in between, like it's not quite as tense as a normal sound, but it is more tense than just an sound. That would be what I would say. Then he also asks, on a different note, having some hard times saying the and this. You can't really hear the TH sound. Yeah, it's a problem, right? Because that's going to change the word you're saying. We've talked about TH sounds before. So my big suggestion with THs, in case you're not familiar, is that I know a lot of you were taught to make THs by sticking out your tongue. So saying like the and this, okay, which is fine. You can pronounce THs that way. But I think something that's going to help with linking to other sounds would be raising the front of your tongue to touch your top front tooth. So instead of doing like the, doing more the. And when you're pronouncing this in words, you want to make sure that you're holding it long enough to hear the vibration, especially if it's the voice sound. And then as soon as you hear the vibration, you can release. So for instance, if I'm saying the word the, okay, so if I'm saying the, I'm holding that TH long enough until I hear it, and then I'm immediately going to that schwa sound, the, or for instance, for this, I get the, and then I can move on to that short IS. It's like this. It's like this. I would definitely practice exaggerating the sound. So THs, see if you can hold it for like 3 or 4 seconds. So for instance, the voice sound would be like, and it should be relatively easy to do that if you're having trouble. If you're doing like or sounds like that, that's a sign that you want to continue practicing because we're not getting it so smooth. It should be a consistently smooth sound. So just some notes on that. Okay, but Danny, I hope that answers your questions. Lots of good ones there. Those are problematic sounds for a lot of people. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Yeah, I think we've highlighted all of the main things there. Really quick, just a gentle reminder.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
So again, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, please let us know. Also, if you're lurking, if you've never been to the stream before, welcome. It's great to have you. We do this stream every Saturday at 1:30 p.m. New York time, and this is again every Saturday. I'm also excited to say that for a couple of streams in February, we have some special guests coming in. I'll be posting up some details about that. But if you follow a couple other English pronunciation channels, I think you'll recognize some of the people stopping by our streams. So they're going to be joining us. They're going to be giving you feedback on pronunciation alongside me. So that way, if I give you a tip and you're like, that's not really working for me, or I think there's a better way. That's what the alternatives are for, right? This is a subjective experience. Sometimes with teaching, you need to hear different perspectives. So we have some special guests stopping by from other YouTube channels for pronunciation starting next week. I'm excited for you guys to see them. All right. And I think that's pretty much all I had for those two sentences. Anybody you mentioned already in the roster? So I'll put it this way. Some of the people I recently in the community tab, I asked about some other YouTube channels that people look at and follow. So if you send a link, there's a chance that people from those channels are going to be stopping by, as well as some other channels. For instance, one, I think it's if you guys are, I always forget his channel name. I think English Language Hacks with Josh. That's one that we don't have a date set, but that's going to be towards the end of February, most likely. And he's actually he wasn't sure how he felt about joining the stream because he's like, but I don't know about placement. I don't agree with that idea about projecting from your throat. Which is like I said, it's all about perspectives. I'm trying to give you guys as many different people to experience as possible. So if placement is something that you aren't finding helpful for you, or if you're like, I'm not that low sound, that's not for me. That's not working. He'll be able to give us some alternatives and some other suggestions that you can use to help. Yeah, there's at least like 2 or 3 other channels stopping by as well. So that's exciting. Keep following us. But that's enough for me. You guys didn't come here to hear me talk. You came here to hear some suggestions for yourselves. Whoa, let me add myself there, right? Again, it's not Lido, it's more little.
The G host was class.
Are you feeling that here, or here? Okay, so you guys will hear me. You will hear me, but you'll also see me put on my headphones, so that way I can hear my audio. I will be sharing my screen and my audio, so that way we can take a look at our files together. Give me 1 second to get everything ready. And of course, as we go through this, I do have the chat open the entire time. So if there is a question that you have, something that you're curious about, you can let me know. And I will go through, I'll be happy to answer any questions and things. Okay. And by the way, if you have not sent in a pronunciation file, it's not too late. All you need to do is look at the top of the chat. I've pinned it. And this will give you instructions so that way you can send your pronunciation. Okay, so this is your first time joining us. And maybe you're a little excited or nervous, but you want to get some feedback for yourself. This is how you do it. Go to that link. You'll see a document, which I'm about to show you. And yeah, I love that laugh. I love that laugh. Yes, let's take a look and see. Make sure I'm sharing the right screen. And let me bring myself in. Okay. So again, when you sign into the document, this is the thing that you're going to see. This is where everybody is sending in their files. And Danny, non sei l'unico italiano oggi, eh? Ce n'è un altro. That's pretty exciting. Okay, But let's see what we got. Starting here, and I believe I'm sharing my audio. And yes, we do have a number of files. We're going to try to get through as many of these as possible in the next hour. Hopefully, everybody. First one.
Call me whenever you get the chance.
Okay, so we're relying on that first sentence, or the second sentence, excuse me. Let's play that again.
Call me whenever you get the chance.
Call me whenever you get the chance. Call me whenever you get the chance.
Call me whenever you get the chance.
So I would say that, one thing I like about this is you really cut down on stresses. The only word I really hear being stressed is call. And by the way, you may hear my son wander around in the background. My apologies if that's distracting. But it's enjoys having kids. Play that again.
Call me whenever you get the chance.
Yeah, so I'm really only hearing one stress, which is great. One thing I see with a lot of people when they're sending files is they tend to have many, 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 many stresses. So that's not something I'm experiencing here, which is great. My only thing is that I don't know if I would stress call. Like, call me whenever you get the chance. Now, a situation where you would want to stress call would be, for instance, maybe like someone misheard you. You're like, wait, like text you whenever I get the chance, and then you're like, no, call me. Like you're clarifying. So that in that sort of situation, I think it would be natural to put the stress on call. But in like a general situation, like you say, like you're leaving a voicemail for someone. You called someone, they're not there, goes to voicemail. So you're just like, hey, call me back whenever you get the chance. So I think in that sort of situation, probably more likely put the stress on back. I'll play that again.
Call me whenever you get the chance.
Yeah. And in fact, you just took out back. You didn't even want to say back. You're just like, no, I'm not saying it. I'm just going to call me. So that's what I would say. Yeah, call me back. Call me back.
Call me whenever you get the chance.
Call me whenever you get the chance. I want to hear that chance part again.
Whenever you get the chance.
Whenever you get the chance. Whenever you get the chance. Not necessarily wrong, but I probably would have done a more of a falling intonation, a sharper fall on chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. So that would be something I would say. So again, I don't have anything that I would say like, oh my gosh, this is like horribly wrong, or like, oh my gosh, you need to change this immediately. But just some other considerations for alternatives on how to say this. So the sharper fall on chance, and I would change the stress off call. But thank you for sending out audio. I do appreciate it, and I cannot do this without you. Before we take a look at our second one, a quick thing. What do you think about a lesson about placement other than vowels and consonants? A lesson about placement other than vowels and consonants. When you say that, do you mean like on like a sentence level of placement? What can you give me some more details about what you had in mind? I'm always open to experimentation, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Yeah. Take a listen to our second file here.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Play that again.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Couldn't have done this without your help.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Okay, I'm getting a little. I understand it, but there's a middle part that I'm kind of getting a little bit. Feels a little bit muddled.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Couldn't have done this. Couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this. It might be the intonation.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
I couldn't have done this without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help. I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this. Couldn't have done this. Couldn't have done this. Yeah, the more I think about it, stressing done is certainly a very valid alternative. You could stress done. I couldn't have done this. Couldn't have done this. I think that's okay. But the one thing I think is kind of throwing me off here is the intonation patterns being used.
I couldn't have done this without.
I couldn't have done this. I would probably use more of a rising intonation there because there's more information coming. Like without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help. It's like, couldn't have done this, couldn't have done this. I would have considered more of a rising intonation on that to indicate to your listener that more information is coming. You're not done talking. Having a falling intonation at the end of a thought group really kind of gives it a sense of finality, like it's done. Whereas a rising intonation would have suggested more that it was going to continue and we're not done talking yet.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
And then without your help, like a little bit flat.
Without your help.
Without your help. Without your help.
Your help.
Without your help. Without your help. Couldn't have done this without your help. So you are, almost sounds like you're taking off the stress. Want to say, okay. That's gratitude is an important life skill, although it's not one you have to enjoy doing. I think that's a fair response.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Without your help. Without your help. Without your help. How can we make it sound less flat?
Without your help.
Without your help. Without your help. Couldn't have done this without your help. Without your help. It sounds to me because you're kind of like without your help. Without your help. Without your help. Everything's kind of at the same level.
Without your help.
Without your help. So one thing is, so it sounds like you don't have many stresses, right?
I couldn't have done this without your help.
So you don't really, I would say you have one major stress. So I couldn't have, everyone's cutting off stresses today, which is cool. So you have that heavy stress on couldn't. So you're not really adding a second heavy stress.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
You're not really stressing help. If you were stressing help, you would have raised the pitch higher. Without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help. Like without your help. Without your help. And by the way, I don't think that's wrong to have two stresses here. In fact, if I were saying it, I would probably have two stresses. But let's say that you only want to have one stress and we want to make this work. Okay, fine. Then what I would recommend is instead of keeping it really flat, what I would recommend is let's do like a falling staircase. Let's go down, down, down. Without your help. Without your help. Without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help. It's like without your help, without your help. It's like go down instead of keeping everything at the same pitch level. Because right now I think everything's kind of staying at the same spot over and over and over again. And if there's one thing English really doesn't like, it doesn't like when things are constantly at the same level. English wants things to move. It wants things to be higher, then go down, then go up, then go down, then go up, and like move around a lot. So I think we were kind of staying a little bit too static. So again, my suggestion would have been, if I wanted to just do one stress on couldn't, then I would say this as, I couldn't have done this without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help. Versus
help. I couldn't have done this without your help.
Yeah, so just going a little bit further down. But I hope that makes sense. If anything there isn't clear, be sure to let me know. But thank you so much for sending your audio file. As always, I appreciate it. It's always great to hear from you. Denny has a comment. Hey, I really want to make sure I'm practicing placement correctly. Sounds good. We can make placement. Oh yeah, for sure. You know, I think that one thing that we do in classes is that, it's not like we do in my classes. I do one class on placement and that's it. Placement is something that's recurring. It's in everything that we do because it affects every single sentence that we say. It affects every single word that we say. It affects every single sound, all the vowels, all the consonants and stuff. So it's not something that just disappears. My mom, gotta cheer on the mom. Come on. Saying that she would stress done in the sentence. She would stress done. So I couldn't have done this without your help. And again, that certainly is a very common alternative as well. Because I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with stressing done. Okay, let's move on. Here, our next one.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Couldn't have done this without your help. So it's interesting. The last two files we went through had stresses, right? That we kind of eliminated. Kind of, I would say, one heavy stress for each of the last sentence. And this one seems to go more. Done this. Yep, that's perfectly fine. Mom, I'm gonna raise my voice on done. I think that's perfectly fine. The one thing though is when you're thinking about that, compare it to this sentence.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Because I don't think that you would have raised it quite as high as this. I would say that this sentence here is sounding a bit over exaggerated. Give me a sec for a water break.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
Danny, you're supposed to be reminding me. Trying to keep your job. Gotta remind me to stay hydrated. So I do think that the stresses on this sentence tend to be a little bit exaggerated.
I couldn't have done this.
You hear that? I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this. And so if this happens to you, because this is a pretty common thing I see with students, if this happens to you where you feel like you record yourself and your stresses sound different than mine because maybe they're coming off more strongly. The issue could be that you're overstressing. And when I say overstressing, the big tendency is that you're making a rise in your pitch that's a little bit too dramatic and too sudden. Again, we talked about before, pitch is kind of like a staircase. English is making stairs. And what I would say is that, when you're going upstairs, you want to be very regular, right? Like you want a stair here, another stair here, another stair here. And you don't want to stare, like you don't want it to be like there's a stair here, there's a stair here, there's a stair here, there's a stair like way up here. That's you're gonna trip. That's a hard staircase. So keeping things regular and consistent. There are times when you can exaggerate. Don't get me wrong, but I think in general, what I'm hearing here is maybe an over exaggeration, and in fact, even here. So I was trying to avoid sounding flat, and this is the common experience, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, so I'm gonna go really far the other way. And it's a balance, right? We can't be too flat, but we also can't be too exaggerated. So I would say, in terms of pitches, how could we have staggered this?
I couldn't have done this.
And so I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this. Couldn't have done this. Couldn't have done. Couldn't have done. Couldn't have done. I would just practice doing a progression like that. Couldn't have done. Couldn't have done. Couldn't have done. So then when each step kind of gets progressively higher, I think a step like that would have been helpful. Okay. Couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this. Instead of I couldn't have done this.
I couldn't have done this without.
Besides that, though,
I couldn't have done this.
Couldn't have.
I couldn't have done.
Couldn't. I want to hear that. Couldn't have again.
I couldn't have done this.
You could have maybe even reduced that schwa. Couldn't have even a little bit more if you wanted. It's not something you have to do. This might be something that you may want to think about exploring more. Some of those contractions, negative contractions, reductions. Definitely. Oh, that's great.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
And then on that part, without your help. That's another thing that I see with students too when they're over exaggerating a bit is they kind of drag out the vowel, like help versus help. I feel like you're getting a lot of movement on your vowel.
This without your help.
Help versus help. I would maybe have done a sharper falling intonation without your help.
Your help.
It's a help or help without your help. Without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help. Couldn't have done this without your help. I think doing that sort of pattern would make it sound just a little bit more natural. So I think that's my big suggestion here is watch out for the that's my big suggestion here is stresses, practicing them, getting them to be not flat, but also not over exaggerated. It's that balance. This is also where shadowing exercises can be helpful. When you're shadowing, record yourself. Try to identify the words that are stressed and then identify how you're saying those stressed words. Does it sound the same as the person you're listening to, or does it sound a little bit more exaggerated? Take a look at the next file. I hope that's helpful. Thank you for sending that audio. All right, next one here.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Play again.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Okay. Chance. I would say you're kind of doing that same thing that you did in the previous sentence with your last stress. I think you're kind of dragging out your vowel sound longer. I would have shortened it a little bit. Chance. You get the chance. Call me back when you get the chance. Whenever you get the chance.
Whenever you get the chance.
It's a chance. Do you hear that? Chance versus chance. Chance. I know we have this ass sound linking with the N, but that doesn't necessarily mean we need to drag out the syllables and things like that. Just chance. Chance. It's not chance. Try to do more. Chance. Chance.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back. Call me back. Call me back.
Call me back whenever.
Call me back. There's something here, but we'll see if I can identify it.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back. Call me back. Call me back. Nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong. I think this is fine. What I would say is that if I were saying this sentence, call me back. Hey, call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back whenever you get.
I think it's the ass sound.
Call me back whenever.
Back. You're giving me back versus back. So I think you're kind of doing more of a. You're kind of in between this territory, and I would say that the sound might be something worth reviewing just a little bit. So try it a little bit, a little more . So instead of back, more back.
Call me back when.
Instead of back, more back. Back. It's like Joyce trying to do a progression like that. Back. Back.
Call me back when.
Back. Call me back. Back. Something you can try doing too is open your mouth just a little bit wider. That may help. It's not a big problem. I think people understand it fine, and maybe I'm exaggerating and being very nitpicky, but I do think the sound could help a little bit of clarity there. But John, I think that sounds fine. If you have any questions about anything I said for that, be sure to let me know. But thank you for sending your file. I, as always, appreciate it. Both your files, I should say. All right, let's take a listen to this next one. And hello to Hamid stopping by again. Good to see you, sir. I've meant to move this one, but we'll keep going.
Anyways, just call me back. Okay? Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Let's play that again.
Anyway.
Such good acting, right? This is quality. Where else do you get this, guys? Where else do you get this?
Anyways, just call me back.
Back versus back. Watch out a little bit for that ass sound.
Just call me back.
It's like ba versus ba. This is something I do see sometimes with students is kind of like dragging out consonants onto that vowel sound. So like ba versus just ba. Try to go immediately from that B to that a. It's like ba. Don't make the B too strong. Otherwise, it could kind of change your vowel sound a little bit.
Just call me back. Okay? Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Chance. I'm hearing like almost chance, almost like an sound versus your ass sound like in chance. Oh, there's more surprises coming. Don't you worry. There are more surprises coming. I would like to hear chance again.
Okay. Call me back whenever you get the chance.
You hear that chance versus chance. We talked a lot about that ass sound linking with that and so just kind of compare chance versus chance. Look at all the tips that we mentioned for that vowel sound.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Yeah, because right now I'm definitely hearing more of an S sound, like almost like in best or get. Okay. Anything is possible. Hopefully this is acting. I hope that's the case. But yeah, my big suggestion there would be the ass sound, especially on chance. Moving right along. Thank you for sending that as always.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
A little bit faint. One thing, if you're sending audio files, do make sure to kind of just check the volume, check the clarity, make sure it's sounding the way you want it to sound. I'll do my best to give some feedback on this, but I do know that the volume on this is a little bit low.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
I would say again, ass sound on back. I'm hearing almost back versus back.
Call me back when.
You hear call me back versus call me back.
Call me back when.
Back. So again, back. Watch out for that vowel sound.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Whenever you get the chance. Also, in terms of your rhythm there on that second half, it's a little bit it's kind of start stop.
Back whenever you get the chance.
Whenever you get the chance, like whenever you get the chance. Take this. You're adding a little bit of stress onto get. And I would suggest removing that to kind of let your sentence flow a little bit more. Because right now it disrupts your flow and it kind of stands out a little bit. So say whenever you get the chance, more whenever you get the chance, whenever you get the chance.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Whenever you get the chance. Because it almost sounds like you're putting more stress on get than on chance. But honestly, you're probably going to be more likely to get to put the stress on chance. Is it get the chance more? Get the chance. So take the stress off of get, put more stress on chance. I would also recommend a heavier falling intonation whenever you get the chance. Whenever you get the chance. Okay. Call me back whenever you get the chance. So again, that's the sentence that we are looking at. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Play it one more time.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Yeah. When stressed words fall at the end of your thought group, or especially at the end of your sentence, they tend to be a little bit exaggerated. I know I'm hesitant to say that because I don't want people to drag it out too much, but they should really stand out. You don't need to raise the pitch extraordinarily, but having maybe like a sharper intonation can be helpful. Chance. I would do a heavy fall there. I hope that makes sense. If anything in that feedback is not clear, be sure to let me know. But thank you for sending that. I do appreciate it. We're going to take a listen to our next file here.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Okay.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Again, I think another situation where we have a few too many stresses. And we're working with this sentence again.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back. So you're putting some stress on back, but you're also putting some stress on whenever, and you're also putting some stress on chance, which is a little bit too much. I would remove that stress on whenever, because that would have allowed you to flow a little bit more.
Call me back.
I would also say studying the ah sound would be helpful, because I'm kind of hearing bick versus back. If you're having some trouble with the s sound and the ah sound, here's a couple quick words just to study. The first word will have the s sound, second word will have the ah sounds, like set, sat, or beg, bag, or left, laughed. If you're saying those words and they sound the same, that can be an indication to you that, oh, I need to study that, most likely that ah sound a little bit. A lot of languages do not have an ah sound, so this may be a new sound for you. So spending some time studying it is a good idea.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Yeah, whenever you get the chance. But as opposed to call me back whenever you get the chance. So I would reduce that whenever you get the. We talked about that earlier. So I reduce that part more.
Whenever you get the chance.
And so I would also again ask on chance, because so kind of hear like chance versus chance.
The chance.
It's like chance versus chance. Try to make that and sound just a little clearer again.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Yeah, so those would be my recommendations for that. If anything is not clear, be sure to let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much for saying this. I do appreciate it. Okay. But I need a quick water break. But in the meantime, just a quick reminder as well that if you're liking what you're seeing so far, we do this sort of practice and these sorts of exercises every single day for your pronunciation in our Telegram group. Just to give you a quick example.
Eel, please. I think your O sounds are a little bit tense. And we allow O. Take off the T on center.
So again, in the Telegram group, pretty much every day, I send in a challenge group of words to practice. And then after that, you can send in your own audio file, and I give you some suggestions and things. So again, if you're interested in that, it's all in our Telegram group. You can join at patreon.com/fluentamerican. It's definitely something to check out. All right, I'm going to share my screen and my audio once more so we can take a look at more of your files. Where'd I go? There I am. All right. Is this the same one that we looked at last time?
Call me back.
Yeah, I think it's the same one. All right, next file.
Call me back whenever I get the chance.
Call me. Feeling very high in placement, like call versus call. So that's going to be the one thing I'm immediately going to tell you is that I would say try to get the sounds projecting from a lower spot. Because right now you're sounding kind of high, like top of throat, back of mouth, as opposed to low in throat, very open.
Call me back.
Call me versus call me. So it's not cool, it's more call. You way more air you want way more air to come through your throat. Okay, and that's going to change the sound completely. So say cool, more caw, caw.
Call me back whenever.
Same thing with back. It's a back, more back, back.
Call me back.
Is it back? More back. This could also be a case where the B is maybe being a little bit too strong on the B. Like weakening the B sound may also help with the vowel sound to be a little clearer as well.
Call me back whenever I get the chance.
Maybe get the. I like that reduction with the whenever you get the. I think that sounds pretty good.
Never get the chance. Call me back whenever I get the chance.
Whenever you get the. I like that part. That's probably the strongest part of the sentence.
Back whenever I get the chance.
I would say on the, you could reduce it more. This is your schwa sound. Get the.
Never get the chance. Call me back whenever I get the chance.
Get the versus get. I think lowering your placement also on the S and on get would be helpful. Get.
Back whenever I get the chance.
It's a get. It's more get. Raise the back of your tongue, and this might sound contradictory, but I promise you it's not. You want to raise the back of your tongue to block more of that air for gut, but you want to open your throat more to get more air through. It's like gut.
Never get the chance.
So I'm hearing gat versus gut. You hear a difference there? It's like gut versus gat. It's more gut.
Never get the chance.
And then chance, again, we talked a lot about that. As sound plus N linking. So those would be some things I would consider there. So call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. That's the sentence that we're seeing again. I'll play it once more.
Call me back whenever I get the chance.
I would also say you could probably also reduce call. The call right now is a little bit strong. You could probably weaken that.
Call me back.
It's like call me back versus call me back. Call me back. I would reduce call a little bit.
Back whenever I get the chance.
Yeah, so those would be my big suggestions there. I hope that's helpful. Thank you so much for sharing your audio. I do appreciate it.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
All right, taking a look at our next file here.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Sounds very angry.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
I'd be afraid to call back. I think you're going to hurt me.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
I think what's happening is kind of similar in a different way, but a similar thing that we've seen earlier. I think your stressed words are a little bit strong. And oh, thank you. Of course. Thanks for sending the files. I appreciate that. That's great. Please come back. Please send more files in the future. Please.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back. You're putting a lot of stress on call, especially.
Call me back whenever you
Call me back versus call me back. So I think you're putting a heavier stress on call than you are on back. Which again can work, but again, it kind of gives this a sense of almost being angry or frustrated. The more natural place for the stress would probably be on back. Call me back. I said, call me back. Call me back.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Whenever you get the chance. You see how heavy that chance is? And that could be the microphone a little bit too.
The chance.
The chance. It's super strong.
Chance. Back whenever you get the chance.
Get the chance. Get the chance. Versus get the chance. Get the chance. I would lower the pitch a little bit just to make it sound a little bit less exaggerated. I think it's going to make it sound a little bit more natural. Whenever you get the chance. Whenever you get the chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Play that one more time. Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Yep. So I would just say watch out for mostly stress-related things to pay attention to. Okay. And see how that changes how the sentence sounds. Thank you for sending that file. If anything there is not clear, again, please do let me know. I'll be happy to give some suggestions. Moving right along. Next file.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
I think this is the one you sent 2 files, and you asked me which one was more natural.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
I have kind of similar feedback though for this one as well. I still think that both times I think the stresses are a little bit too strong.
Call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back when.
So I would say that I don't hear as much stress on call this time, which is good. So I'm hearing a heavier stress on back and on chance, which is what you want. But I would say that I still think your stresses are a little bit over exaggerated.
Call me back whenever.
Call me back. Call me back. Call me back. One thing that you can also do to make the stresses a little bit weaker is have less of a pause. So notice how long of a pause you have between me and back.
Call me back whenever.
Yeah, call me back. Call me back. You know, when you do that, me back, you're making that stress word really pop, and that can certainly be an effective strategy, especially for times like if you're angry or frustrated. You'll hear people do that a lot. But in like a normal conversation and things like that, like times where you're feeling kind of more like a neutral mood, probably a little strong.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Same thing with like some of the things, the chance. You again kind of having these dramatic pauses before your word, and again that's making it sound even more emphasized.
Chance. Whenever you get the chance.
The chance versus the chance. So watch out for those pitches. Watch out for those pauses before your stress words, because it can lead to things sounding a bit overstressed. I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions about that, let me know. My mom stopping by again. This is interesting. I never really thought about how I stress words and sentences when I speak. Yeah, this is I think you speak for most native speakers of any language. You don't know what you're doing in a language until you start kind of analyzing it, and you're like, oh wow, actually I had no idea I'm doing all these like really complicated things in my speech, and I had no idea. And this is true also for you guys too. Whatever your first language is, you're doing things in it that you may not be aware of, and that's the fun part of learning other languages too, is you start becoming more aware of those aspects that go into linguistics and social linguistics and things like that. I think it's interesting stuff. I don't know if you guys do. But how about last couple original files? I know that some people have also sent some more. By the way, this is Zobeda has sent files. I don't know if Zobeda's here. But we do have some pronunciation files that we're still receiving, and there's still time. Okay, so again, I will be leaving at the top of the hour. It's about 25 minutes or so, which means that if you're lurking, if you're out there, like, hey, you, like if you're watching this and you're thinking about sending a pronunciation file, but you haven't done it yet, well, there's still time, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to give you some feedback. All you need to do is go to this document. You're going to see at the top, again, instructions. You can go to vocaroo.com. That's how people are sending me their files. And then it'll give you a link. You put the link in the document. This is a shared document, so I'll see it as soon as you post it, and then we can take a look. Okay, so there's still time to get all of your audio files in. Okay. So Beta's a little bit late, but she's here. I mean, that's the important thing. We're just glad you're here, miss. Thanks for joining us again. Let's take a look at our next file.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Couldn't have done that. Again, kind of similar thing with stresses. I think these sound a little overstressed.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
I couldn't have done this without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help. Especially on that done, it feels very heavy.
I couldn't have done this without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help.
Couldn't have done this versus couldn't have done this. Couldn't have done this. So again, I would say your pitch change on a done was a little bit too dramatic, which may sound a little bit overstressed. Again, compare mine. I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this.
I couldn't have done this.
You couldn't have done this versus couldn't have done this. So something to pay attention to again with your stresses.
Couldn't have done this without your help.
Again, without your help versus without your help. Without your help.
Your help. Done this without your help.
Without your help. It's not as bad with without your help. That maybe still a little bit strong, but I don't think it's like egregious or anything like that. But the first one with done, I couldn't have done this. I would definitely tone down that stress.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
The other thing too is it sounds kind of choppy.
I couldn't have done this.
I couldn't have done this. Oh, I think the reason why is that your consonant sounds are very strong.
I couldn't have done this.
I think your consonant sounds are kind of taking over your vowel sounds. So you're getting like, I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this.
I couldn't have done this.
Whereas again, American English is really focusing on vowel sounds. So like instead of saying I couldn't have done this, or I couldn't have done this, I couldn't have done this. Notice that the sound and the sound. It's like couldn't have done versus couldn't have done this. So I think your consonant sounds are a little bit strong. I would recommend holding your vowel sounds a little bit longer and making sure that that's the dominant part of your word, not your consonant sounds. English is listening for vowels. We're not really listening for consonants as much. And this is what happens if your consonants are too strong. It can make the sentence sound a lot more choppy, a lot more start-stop. The consonants really break sounds up, whereas vowels help things kind of slur things together, kind of link things together more. And English is all about linking and things like that. So one way you can kind of practice this, if you find that this is difficult, stop Sherry for a moment. If you're trying to practice just vowel sounds, trying to make vowel sounds the key part of your sentences when you're talking, what I would recommend are doing things like let's look at this. It's like if I'm working like couldn't have done this, if I'm trying to practice that and make the vowels stronger, I'm going to take off all the consonant sounds and just keep the vowels. It's like it's like and it's going to sound weird, right? Because I'm not really having a form. I'm losing my consonants, so it's just like couldn't have done this, couldn't have done this, couldn't have done this, couldn't have done this. Just kind of just practicing like that. It's going to sound like mush, and that's okay, because what you're doing is you're getting what it would sound like if the vowel sounds are really key. And then you can just add consonants to shape the words, but not take over the words. And that's going to help your sentence to get a little bit more, it's going to flow a little bit more. So that's definitely something I would recommend for that. But thank you for sending that audio file. As always, I do appreciate it. Let's take a look at our, short eyes are a pain. Didn't mean to bring it up though. Hey, Mary's back too. Zubayda's in the house. Mary's in the house. That's cool. Great to see you, miss. Thanks for joining us again. All right, let me share my screen again. Take a listen to our next file. Mary, if you want to send a file, I think there's still a little bit of time if you want to get some feedback. Thank you for sending that file. Let's take a look at our next one.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back. So again, you're another person putting a heavy stress on call, which again can work, but it does, think of it also this way. This is an imperative. This is a command, like call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back, the subject that implied you. So when you have imperatives and you put the stress on that imperative, on that command, on that verb, you're making it extra strong. Like, call me back. Call me back. And there's obviously situations where that's a great strategy. Why would you'd want to do that, to sound more forceful, things like that. But if you're talking to a friend or something like that, and you're just like, call me back, that makes it sound like, oh, they're mad at me. What did I do? It's perfectly fine to put the stress on call, but it can certainly change the tone of what you're saying, and people may interpret it different ways. I think in a more general situation, probably more likely to put stress on back. Call me back.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Yeah, because that sounds a little bit angry to me. Whenever you get the chance.
Get the chance.
Let's say that you wanted to soften this more. What I would say is that
yes.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Get the chance.
Get the chance. Maybe get the chance. Chance. One thing that you can also do to kind of soften this, like let's say that first part was really strong.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Whenever you get the chance. One thing you could do to potentially soften it a little bit too is to soften the intonation on chance. Instead of chance, because that's a little bit firm, you do a chance. Chance. You could make it a little bit more gradual fall. Chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Versus call me back whenever you get the chance. That's a little bit punchier, a little stronger. Versus call me back whenever you get the chance. that's a little bit softer. And all I'm doing is I'm just, instead of doing intonation like a sharp fall, I'm making it more gradual. Okay, so that's something that you can also do to make things sound a little bit softer. Just note on that. Great note here from Emmanuel. The balance between consonants and vowels. The consonants are taking over, you sound choppy. But if your vowels are taking over, you sound mushy. 100%. 100%. And English is all about that balance, right? It's about being more mushy than choppy. If you only learn one thing from today's stream, that's what I want you to learn. English is a little bit more mushy than choppy. That's your lesson for today. Pay attention to those vowel sounds. That's what we want to do. Okay. That was that one we just looked at.
Call me back.
Yeah. Again, moving right along, and also just quick water break.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
Okay, let's listen to this one. This is the last of the original group I had uploaded.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Mushy.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Okay. I think some of this is also kind of the microphone, not gonna lie.
I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have.
Why are we dragging out the I? Let's see the sentence. It's like I couldn't. Almost giving like a southern twang a little bit. I couldn't. Versus okay, so the first thing I probably would reduce the I instead of more. You could just do like I couldn't. It's just a really quick it's kind of like chopped, like I couldn't. But if you really want the I, for whatever reason, there may be a situation where you do want it. Make sure that instead of doing like where you're kind of reducing that sound, you want to keep it as an I sound. I couldn't. So it's not I couldn't, more I couldn't. At least in a more standard pronunciation. Again, there are certainly accents where you will get more like an versus an I, but I wouldn't make that a little sharper.
I couldn't have done this.
I couldn't have done this. That pause again is kind of disrupting your flow a bit.
I couldn't have done this.
I couldn't have.
I couldn't have done this.
Okay, so you've made this two thought groups. You put a stress on I, and then you also put a stress on done. Like I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this. I would cut off one of those thought groups. I would cut off one of those stresses. I couldn't have done this. Using the stresses that you have, I would have just kept the stress on done. I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this. Keep that stress on done.
Done this without your help.
Without your help. Sounds a little flat there. Without your help. Without your help.
Without your help.
You're that without your help. Very regular. Without your help. What are we stressing?
This without your help.
Without your help. You're kind of keeping everything the same. It almost sounds like you're not stressing anything. I would have stressed help. I would have raised the pitch a little higher, and I would have made the intonation fall a little bit more sharply. Without your help.
Without your help.
I said without your help. More without your help. Without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
I do like your without your. I like that without your. That sounds pretty good.
This without your help.
I like that without your. Then just raise it a little bit more help, and that would have helped it sound a little bit more natural. But again, those would just be my suggestions here. Watch out for stresses. Watch out for pauses. And this goes for everyone, Excuse me. When you pause, you are telling your listener that a thought group is ending and a new thought group is starting. And your listener, whether they know it or not, is going to start listening for another stress. And that's going to affect your sentence rhythm. And that can be a good thing, it could be a neutral thing, it could be a bad thing. It all depends on the context and things like that. But just kind of be aware of what you're doing. Pauses, you have to be careful where you place them because they do change your rhythm. They can, just a pause can change the meaning of a sentence. All right. I think that's for that. Okay, I see Denny sent me one. I need to check that. I'm going to give you guys back your screen for a moment. I need to look at these last few files just to make sure that everything is okay with them. So give me one moment just to check.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
Okay, Denny sounds good. Okay, Zobeda's first one sounds okay. The second, Zubeda, I don't think I can do that second one because it kind of just drops. The second half of the sentence really kind of just dies. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do that one, but I can definitely do the first one. Next up, Alex. If it loads. Okay, Alex, thank you. Sounds good. Next up. Oh my gosh. Okay. Why? Oh my gosh, you guys will like that, I think. And okay, sorry. So I think I'm gonna try to blitz through these last through files through the end. So hang tight. If you did not send an audio today, I missed you. I wish I could have heard you. Wish I could have given some help and some feedback. But do keep the link. So that link that for the document is the same link we use every single week. So if you want to send an audio file next Saturday, when we have our first guest stopping by, use that link. Send the audio. Check during the week. Usually it's around Thursday where I update it, so you can send in files and things like that. So yeah, we would love to hear you next week. My mom feels like we're part of a little club. Yeah, we are. I like to say you guys are my influencers. That's my nickname for you guys when I'm describing you to people. All right, let's take a look. Yes, we are. Yes, that's definitely true. We're so happy. All right, sharing my audio and everything for our last group of audio files. One moment. Okay, blitz round. Trying to get through everyone within the next 10 minutes or so. I think we can do this.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Help. Why did we rise, Denny? Maraga. Cosa stai facendo, eh? Why did you give me some rising intonation there?
This without your help.
Without your help versus without your help. Without your help. This is a sentence, right? So this is a sentence, it's a statement. So most likely you're going to have falling intonation. Probably not going to have rising intonation. So instead of help, more help.
I couldn't have done this with. Couldn't have.
I would also like you to take a look at contractions. I'd like you to practice that negative contraction with couldn't. I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this. Because I think that's going to be the more common way that you're going to hear it said. I said couldn't have more. I couldn't have done this. So I would like you to practice that linking and that reduction a little bit, that contraction.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
But I do like your stress on done. I couldn't have done this.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
I do like done this. I like how you said this as well, the intonation there.
I couldn't have done this with
this. Couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this without your help.
Without your help.
Without your
done this without your help.
Without your help. Without your help. Yeah, that's my big thing is going to be couldn't have done this. I'd like you to practice that, and then help. Watch out for that intonation pattern. I would have changed that a little bit. Yeah, those would be my big recommendations there. I hope that makes sense, Denny. I like the file. I like a lot of what you're doing, but pay attention to those two things. I think that'll be helpful. Okay. Thank you for sending that, man. How about our next one?
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. So you're putting the heavier stress on chance in a way.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Yeah, you're doing a heavier stress on chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Back whenever you get the chance. I think you're honestly, and may just be my own interpretation. Maybe my mom had some feedback and she'd give some thoughts. But I think the heavier stress, you're probably actually going to fall more back than on chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. Call me back whenever you get the chance. I think a lot of times, like when you say phrases like chance, when you get the chance, whenever you get the chance, it can receive some stress, but it's not normally the heaviest stress. I think your heavier stress would probably be on back. Call me back. Hey, call me back whenever you get the chance. I would have made chance a little weaker.
Call me back whenever.
Call me back. Call me back.
Call me back whenever.
Call me back. Call me back.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Whenever you get the.
Whenever you get the.
I like that. Whenever you get the. Whenever you. I like that going down. Like whenever you. So like you go that R on ever, and then you go even lower. Whenever you. That's a very natural progression. You could reduce you. You could make it like whenever you get the chance. Whenever you get the chance, instead of you do more whenever you get the chance. Just to note. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that would help this sentence would be taking off the stress on, or not taking off the stress on chance, but making it a little bit weaker. So back becomes the heavier stress. That would be my recommendation.
Call me back whenever you get the chance.
Because that sounds a little strong. That would just be my suggestion. Thank you for sending that file. I do appreciate it. Next up.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
Here's another case where the consonants are kind of taken over.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
I couldn't have done this.
I couldn't have done this.
I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have done this.
I couldn't have done this.
Done this. Kind of like what we said earlier. I would practice saying this just with vowel sounds first. Couldn't have done this. Like couldn't have done this. Couldn't have done this. Try to get the vowels to play a more active part, because right now the consonants are kind of taking over, kind of giving you a bit of a choppy aspect to your sound. Going back to the previous sentence, coming back. Yeah, and I think that by having that pause on back, this is for Zobeda's file, that's going to make back sound more stressed than chance. So I do think that would have been helpful. Honestly, I do think that would have been helpful. Play again.
I couldn't have done this without your help. I couldn't have done this without.
I couldn't have done this. Couldn't have done this versus done this. So again, especially on your stressed word, what we're talking about with like vowels and consonants, especially on your stressed words, the vowel is the part that makes this sound most stressed. So holding that vowel sound longer would be really helpful.
I couldn't have done this without your help.
I'll say without your.
Couldn't have done this without your help.
Without your, you're doing like without your help, without your help. So you're kind of like staggering it up. But I would have instead done like without your, go down on your, and then help, without your help, without your help, without your help. And so without your help, without your help. That's going to help keep your sentence at a more level place, as opposed to getting like super high or super low. Also, I think it's going to be a more natural progression, and it's going to help things sound more reduced. When you go up on things, it can make it sound less reduced. But if you go down, without your, that can make the your sound more reduced. Whereas if you do like without your, that can make your sound more stressed. So that's kind of just something I would pay attention to. Without your help. So those would be my big suggestions there. Thank you for sending the file. I do appreciate it. It's always good to hear from you. Okay, last two files. First one.
Ah, senorita. Listen, senorita. I couldn't have done this without your help, senorita.
I don't even know what to say to that. And our last one here. All right. Well, that was you're fantastic. Great to hear. I love having a concert at the end of our stream. Okay, guys, I do need to run to my classes, but hey, some quick reminders.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
Oh no. I have to play that again. Okay, give me 1 sec. Let's play it back.
I couldn't have done this without your help. I couldn't have done this without your help.
I think you heard it that time. Okay. Well, that was certainly interesting, guys. Thank you for spending part of your Saturday with me. I know there are many, many, many American English pronunciation resources out there. So the fact that you spent a little bit of your time with me, especially on a Saturday, and things like that, I really do appreciate it. There are some exciting things happening with the channel. We recently got monetized, which is exciting. So there's all different kinds of new opportunities that is going to give us. Keep an eye out for our on our community tab. So I'll have some updates on some things that will be there out there for you. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you to Denny. Grazie mille. Thank you to Mr. Illustrator. I appreciate that. Emmanuel, Rumeza, Zubeda, Jesse, or Jessel, Jess, I'll say Jess. Thank you. To my lurker people, my lurker friends who have been stopping by the stream, but kind of keeping on the sidelines. That's okay. I appreciate you guys being here and watching. If you guys want to send in your audio files, again, it's the same link. Next week, again, the first of our guests for during this month will be with us. Hello, Mr. Go Big, Go Home. That's great. So hope to see you next week as well. Keep an eye out again. Tomorrow, Zubeda asked for a video on a pronunciation workout with negative sentences. So keep an eye on that. It's almost finished editing, so it should be available early tomorrow morning, your guys' time. But yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. I will see you next week. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good afternoon. Thanks also to my mom for stopping by. That's so great. It's great to have support from family. And I will see you guys later. Have a good day. Have a good night and a good afternoon. You guys take care. Love you too, Mom.